Some accusations are so dark, so disturbing that your brain refuses to process them.
You know they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
That's Jim Caviezel, the man who played Jesus Christ, the man Hollywood tried to destroy for making Sound of Freedom. But he's not the only one who knows.
Yeah, I was surrounded by them. They were everywhere like vultures.
That's Corey Feldman, the child star who's been trying to expose Hollywood's darkest secrets for over a decade. And now, a witness is describing something that connects both of their stories.
She believed consumption was transformation, that youth could be taken in, that vitality could be absorbed. She talked about ancient rites, about elites throughout history who understood what the masses didn't.
Ancient rites, consumption, transformation. But here's what nobody is connecting. Corey Feldman isn't just naming Hollywood predators anymore. Sources close to his inner circle say he's been quietly gathering evidence about what certain A-list celebrities were doing on Epstein Island. And two names keep surfacing over and over again: Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah Winfrey. What they allegedly consumed, what they allegedly participated in, and why every person who tries to expose them ends up silenced, discredited, or dead. This is the story Hollywood is absolutely terrified you're about to hear. Let's start with the man who's been screaming the truth into a void for years while everyone called him crazy. Corey Feldman was one of the biggest child stars of the 1980s. We're talking The Goonies, Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, Gremlins. If you grew up in that era, you know exactly who he is. But what most people don't know is what was happening to him and other child actors behind the scenes, what the adults in the industry were doing while cameras weren't rolling.
I'll tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia.
That's not speculation. That's not rumor. That's Corey Feldman speaking from direct, personal experience. For years, Feldman tried to get anyone in the media to listen. He went on talk shows, he did interviews, he begged people to pay attention. And every single time, he was dismissed, called a has-been, called an attention seeker, called mentally unstable. But here's the thing they don't want you to know.
Thousands of people in Hollywood who have this same information. Why me? Why is it if I don't release the names in the next 2 months, 6 months, or a year, I'm the bad guy? I'm the victim here. I'm the one who's been abused. I'm the one who's trying to come forward and do something about it.
Thousands of people in Hollywood know exactly what Feldman knows. They have the same information, they've witnessed the same things, but they stay silent. Why? Because the moment you speak, you become a target. And the people Feldman is talking about, the people at the top of this network, they have the power to destroy anyone who threatens their secrets. Now, Feldman has always been careful about how much he reveals and when. He spent $1.3 million of his own money making a documentary called My Truth: The Rape of Two Coreys. In that film, he named specific names: Marty Weiss, John Grissom, Alfie Hoffman, Dominic Brascia, and yes, Charlie Sheen. But those names, as shocking as they were, represented just one arm of something much bigger.
There was a circle of older men, and they all had either their own power or connections to great power that surrounded themselves around this group of kids.
And it's widespread?
Connections to great power. That's the key phrase right there. Because what Feldman was describing wasn't just a few bad actors in Hollywood. It was a network, a system, an organization that stretched from casting couches in Los Angeles all the way to private islands in the Caribbean. And here's where this story takes a turn that most people aren't prepared for. Jim Caviezel, the actor who gave up his entire Hollywood career to expose child trafficking, has been describing the exact same structure.
It's an 8-armed octopus, and if you take just out, that arm will grow back. You have to take that.
An 8-armed octopus, multiple arms, multiple tentacles, all connected to a single head. Feldman was exposing one arm, the Hollywood arm, the one that preyed on child actors in the entertainment industry. But Caviezel is saying that arm connects to something much larger, something that involves the most powerful people on the planet. And when you start connecting the dots between what Feldman has been saying for years and what Caviezel has been revealing about Epstein Island, a terrifying picture starts to emerge. When Jeffrey Epstein's documents were finally unsealed, the world expected a few familiar names. What they got was a sprawling list that shattered public trust in institutions across the board. Politicians, billionaires, philanthropists, celebrities. And appearing in those documents not once, not twice, but 5 separate times, Ellen Winfrey. Now, Oprah's defenders will say that appearing in documents doesn't equal guilt. And legally, that's true. But Jim Caviezel isn't making a legal argument. He's pointing at a pattern of proximity to predators, a pattern of providing access, a pattern of protecting the people at the center of these networks. In Caviezel's words, Oprah isn't just a celebrity with suspicious associations, she's a gatekeeper. Think about what that actually means. Oprah Winfrey has more cultural influence than almost any individual in American history. She decides which books become bestsellers, which doctors become trusted authorities, which politicians get the stamp of approval, and most importantly, which stories the public never hears about. She put Harvey Weinstein on her arm at every major industry event for decades. She introduced him to young actresses. She gave him something more valuable than money, her personal endorsement. That's not a coincidence. That's a mechanism. She did the same thing with John of God, a Brazilian faith healer she promoted to millions of viewers.
Meeting Oprah was like, oh my God, I would have thought that I would have to be someone who's established, who everyone would have had to know about before I was privileged enough to meet someone like Oprah.
John of God was later convicted of serially assaulting dozens of women. His background was something any basic researcher could have flagged, yet Oprah gave him a global platform. Harvey Weinstein, John of God, Diddy's parties, Epstein files. Every single time, the same pattern. Proximity, validation, silence. And then, when the heat gets too close, a perfectly timed philanthropy surge to redirect public attention. Now we need to talk about what was actually happening on that island. And I'm warning you, this is where most channels refuse to go. Because beyond the trafficking, beyond the blackmail, beyond the parties, there is a specific reason why the most powerful people in Hollywood and politics were making those trips. It's not just about power. It's not just about control. It's about youth. Jim Caviezel has spoken publicly about a culture within Hollywood's upper tier, a culture rooted in the belief that vitality can literally be consumed, that youth can be transferred, that there are biological properties in young human tissue that the ultra-wealthy have been accessing for generations through channels that never appear in any public record. When Caviezel made that statement, most people dismissed it as insane conspiracy theory. But here's what makes it harder to dismiss now. The mainstream medical community has begun openly discussing compounds derived from young blood, plasma transfusion trials, stem cell protocols, anti-aging treatments that would have sounded like science fiction 20 years ago. What witnesses from Epstein's circle are describing is the black market version of that science, the version that doesn't require ethics boards, the version that doesn't require consent, the version that requires an island with no cameras and a very short guest list.
I believe consumption was transformation, that youth could be taken in, that vitality could be absorbed. She talked about ancient rites, about elites throughout history who understood what the masses didn't.
Ancient rites, elites throughout history. The claim isn't that this is something new. The claim is that this is something very, very old, a tradition passed down through circles of power, a tradition that requires absolute secrecy and absolute complicity. And here's the mechanism that keeps everyone silent. You don't just attend the party, you become part of the party. And once you're in, there is no out.
No one betrays a circle that can destroy.
That's not just a social dynamic. That's an engineered trap. And it's been described by multiple sources as the single most effective way the elite class has protected its secrets for generations. Now we need to talk about Ellen DeGeneres, because her connection to this network is something that very few people are discussing, but it might be the most disturbing piece of this entire puzzle. Anne Heche was Ellen's girlfriend throughout the late 1990s. Theirs was one of the most publicly visible relationships in Hollywood at the time. Magazine covers, red carpets, the perfect progressive love story. But behind closed doors, according to sources who worked alongside Anne, the reality was very different. Anne Heche was working on a documentary about child trafficking called Children of the Machine, and people close to that project have said that Anne witnessed things during her time with Ellen that she spent years trying to process, things she could barely articulate, things that, when she finally started putting them into words for the documentary, apparently made her a liability to very powerful people.
Go to bed, wear white, just wear, everything is white. Drink the water, take the herb.
That was Anne describing strange rituals, instructions she received at some point in her past. In August 2022, Anne Heche died following a fiery single-car crash in Los Angeles. High speed, a residential structure, flames. The official conclusion was accident. But people close to Anne and sources within the documentary team have been vocal about what they believe actually happened.
The crash wasn't random. It was a hit to shut her up. And the poison started way before, in her relationship with Ellen.
We are not stating this as confirmed fact. We are reporting what witnesses are saying, what the people closest to Anne believe. But when you understand the broader pattern that both Feldman and Caviezel have been describing, when you understand that Jeffrey Epstein himself died in federal custody with malfunctioning cameras and a conveniently transferred cellmate, the question of whether powerful people silence inconvenient witnesses stops being paranoid fantasy and starts being documented historical reality. Children of the Machine, the documentary Anne was working on, is reportedly still being finished. The team is still underground, still building the case, and they've said they will release it no matter what. Now here's where Corey Feldman comes back into this story. Sources close to Feldman's inner circle say he's been sitting on information that goes far beyond what he revealed in his 2020 documentary. Information that connects the Hollywood predator network he exposed to the Epstein Island operation. Because here's what most people don't realize. The same people, the same circles, the same names keep appearing across different cases. Marty Weiss, who Feldman named as one of Corey Haim's abusers, also appears in the Nickelodeon scandal exposed in the Quiet on Set documentary. Brian Peck, who was convicted in 2004 for crimes against a child, was later hired on the set of Anger Management. And according to sources, that hiring decision came down to Charlie Sheen himself. The same Brian Peck who victimized Drake Bell, the same Charlie Sheen that Feldman accused of assaulting Corey Haim. These aren't isolated incidents. This is a network, and every time you pull on one thread, 5 more connections appear. Now, according to sources who have been in communication with people close to Feldman, he has gathered testimony about specific individuals who traveled to Epstein Island, individuals whose names have not yet been made public, individuals who participated in the same rituals and consumption practices that Caviezel has been describing. And 2 of those names allegedly include Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah Winfrey.
I believe it's going to move a lot of whistleblowers to come forward, but not one. In the hundreds, maybe thousands of them worldwide start coming forward and telling the truth of what's really.
Feldman has been building relationships with other survivors and witnesses for years. He's been quietly documenting everything, and according to people familiar with his plans, he's preparing to release information that will make his 2020 documentary look like a warm-up. The question is whether he'll get the chance to release it before something happens to him. Because make no mistake, The system that protects these people is still fully operational. When Feldman tried to premiere his documentary in March 2020, the streaming website crashed 15 minutes into the event. Audience members reported that the site appeared to be getting hacked in real time. Was it actually hacked, or was it just traffic overload? Nobody knows for certain, but the timing was suspicious enough that even skeptics had to acknowledge something strange was happening. Jim Caviezel experienced the exact same treatment with Sound of Freedom.
Everyone was told, from Rupert Murdoch, from Fox, to every studio, look, if you touch this thing, you will be out, you will be done. You'll be finished in 3 years.
Every major studio, every major network, told, not asked, told to stay away from a movie about saving children. Why would an industry that puts ribbons on every lapel and gives speeches about justice at every award show bury a film about saving kids? Unless that industry has something to hide. Unless the people at the top of that industry are the same people who were flying to that island. Unless the gatekeepers who control what stories get told and what stories get buried are protecting themselves. Here's the part of the story that should keep every parent in America awake at night. 85,000 children. No follow-up, no records, no answers from anyone in power. Where did they go?
The guys would come up, then they were, right in front of us, ask us if we wanted niñas or niños, and little boys or little girls.
That wasn't a movie scene. That happened in real life, in Colombia, in broad daylight, children being sold like products in front of a film crew making Sound of Freedom. And here's what connects this to everything we've been discussing. The trafficking networks that feed children into these systems operate on a global scale. The demand at the top creates supply chains that stretch across borders. And the people creating that demand, the people flying to private islands for treatments, the people participating in ancient rites, they need a constant flow of victims. Over 300,000 children under the age of 18 have been pulled into trafficking operations in the United States alone. That's not a rumor. That's documented data. And every name in the Epstein files, every flight logs, every guest in those estate basements is a potential answer to where those children went. So where does this leave us? Well, look around. Something is shifting. The Didi situation is making headlines with allegations that mirror everything Feldman and Caviezel have been describing. Private parties, powerful guests, recordings used for blackmail, victims finally coming forward. The Quiet on Set documentary just exposed what was happening at Nickelodeon for decades. The same names that appear in Feldman's story appearing again in a completely different context. The Epstein documents continue to be unsealed, new names appearing, new connections being made, new questions being asked.
I know that the saints in heaven wish to be on this earth right now because there are far more people on this earth than there's ever been. And there are far more souls to save right now than there ever has ever been.
That's prophetic language. That's the language of a man who believes he is standing at a hinge point in history. And whether you share his spiritual framework or not, the facts underneath his fury are real. The files are real. The names are real. The missing children are real. The pattern of silence, complicity, and institutional protection is real. Here's the question that should haunt everyone trying to dismiss these allegations. If what Feldman is saying isn't true, if what Caviezel is saying isn't true, if Ellen and Oprah are completely innocent of everything being implied here, why haven't they sued? Feldman has been making accusations for over a decade. Caviezel has been naming names and describing rituals in interviews that get millions of views. Witnesses are coming forward. Documentaries are being made. And yet, silence. No defamation lawsuits, no legal action, no public inquiries demanding accountability from the accusers.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the victim here. I'm the one who's been abused. I'm the one who's trying to come forward and do something about it.
When someone is falsely accused of something this serious, they fight back. They hire lawyers. They demand retractions. They sue for defamation. But Oprah isn't suing. Ellen isn't facing a public inquiry. Charlie Sheen issued one denial and then went quiet. The circles that Feldman and Caviezel are describing are still intact. still protected, still operating behind the same walls of money and media influence that have shielded them for decades. But those walls are starting to crack. Corey Feldman made a promise to his late best friend, Corey Haim. He promised he would tell the truth about what happened to them as children in Hollywood, and he's been keeping that promise at enormous personal cost. But according to sources, what he revealed in 2020 was just the beginning. The information he's been gathering about Epstein Island, about the rituals, about the consumption practices, about specific A-list celebrities who participated, that information is still out there, still being documented, still being prepared for release. Jim Caviezel said the Epstein documents aren't an ending. They're a trigger, the last domino before a cascade of arrests, exposures, and institutional collapse.
It's an 8-armed octopus. And if you take just out, that arm will grow back. You have to take the head.
The Hollywood arm that Feldman exposed is connected to the political arm. The political arm is connected to the financial arm is connected to the media arm, and all of them connect back to a single head. Children of the Machine, the documentary Anne Heche was working on, is reportedly still being completed. When that drops, we're told it will name names that haven't been named yet. It will show connections that haven't been made public. It will expose what Ellen DeGeneres allegedly knew and what she allegedly participated in. Between Feldman's ongoing investigation, the Diddy case, the Epstein document releases, and the documentary Anne Heche died working on, we may be approaching the moment when the entire system finally collapses. Here's what I want you to remember. For years, Corey Feldman was called crazy, called desperate, called a liar. And then Weinstein went down. And then Epstein went down. And then the Nickelodeon documentary came out. And then the Diddy investigation began. Every single time, Feldman was proven right. The vultures he was describing 20 years ago are the same vultures Caviezel is describing today. The circle of older men with connections to great power is the same 8-armed octopus that controls Hollywood, politics, and media. And if what sources are saying is true, if Feldman really does have information about what Ellen and Oprah consumed on Epstein Island, then the biggest revelations are still coming. Stay locked in, because this story isn't over. It's just getting started.